Just ahead on Virginia Outdoor Life, the speckled trout are biting. We'll tell you how and where to catch them. Find out what every hunter should know by sitting in on a hunter's education class, and join us for a scenic hike through Seashore State Park in Virginia Beach. These stories and more are coming up next on Virginia Outdoor Life. And hello, friends, and welcome to Virginia Outdoor Life. My name is Jim Hale, along with Captain Eric Burnley. And Captain, boy, it seems like we've been waiting forever. The weather has finally cooled off, and that is good news for the fishing.
It certainly is. We've been waiting for this little bit of cool air to come. It seems strange all spring and all summer you want the warm air, but then comes the fall, you want this cold air to move in, drop the water temperatures, and we're going to start to see some pretty good fishing, I think.
Yeah, we've been talking about striped bass a lot,
right,
but that's not the only thing happening out there.
No, absolutely not. Speckled trout is certainly a very important fish in the fall of the year in this area for the saltwater angler. Of course, your freshwater guys are looking for bass and pickerel, but for the saltwater angler, the speckled trout is definitely the big fish for this time of year, especially the guys with the smaller boats that can get into these more sheltered areas.
Where do you catch them?
Well, you can catch them all up and down the coast, but we went into Lake Wesley out just inside of Rudy Inlet and tried to show some folks how to pick up a few speckled trout.
Okay, we're going to do a little speckled trout fishing this afternoon, and what we're going to do is right now we're in Rudy Inlet, but it doesn't really make any difference where you are per se. You're going to still be using the same type of tackle. You're going to be using a lead-headed jig. Now there's a variety of soft rubber tails that you can put on your lead-head jig, or you're going to be using some type of a plug. This happens to be a bomber mullet, but whatever, those are the two basic lures that you're going to be using. Now this bomber mullet or the mirror lure you would use primarily in shallow water with grass bottom where you don't want the lure to sink all the way down. You want to work it over top of some type of structure. That's when you're going to be using the mirror lure or the bomber type of mullet or a similar type of plug. Another very popular lure that hasn't really caught on too much in this area but is very popular in North Carolina now is the finesse lure. The finesse is a straight lure. It doesn't have, other than this little flat tail at the end, it doesn't have the curlicue tail like the Mr. Whiffle or the Mr. Twister, but it's very, very popular down in North Carolina and further south for speckled trout. One of the serious mistakes I made when I started fishing down here was I didn't give enough gap between the hook and the lure. What you want to do is come in on the front of the lure, slide it up, and you'll see a little seam. Try to get that hook to come right through the center of that seam if you possibly can. Then slide it up. There's a little keeper there on the head. Slide it up the head. Now you've got plenty of gap between the body of the lure and the hook. When the fish hits, he'll be able to be hooked. If you leave that, if you don't have enough gap in there like I did, this would act like a bumper, and every time the fish hits, all he gets is the metal or the rubber lure, and he doesn't get the hook. Now I tie mine on. I use a double loop clinch knot, okay? A double loop clinch knot, tie it direct to no leader, no snaps, no swivel, tie it directly to the head. So if you can get yourself some plugs like this, either the bomber and a collection of rubber tails, whether it be finesse, whether it be Whiffle, whether it be Mr. Twister, whatever, confidence in your lure is one of the biggest things when it comes to all kinds of fishing, including speckled trout.
All right, Captain, you know, I went out last week and got shut out, but now that the cool weather has arrived, how much of a factor does that play in the specs?
What it does, the fish are moving on two things. They're moving on sunlight somehow or another. They're not really sure how, but sunlight affects them. The less sunlight, they begin to realize they've got to move, and of course the colder water temperature. And for speckled trout, you're looking for pretty good fishing until you get to about 55 degrees, and then they'll pretty much move out. But they'll still be here all winter. They'll catch them in Lake Wesley all winter long on warmer days. When the water warms up, they'll start to bite again. Same thing on the Carolina coast. They'll catch them down there when the water's warm, even January, February, they'll still be catching speckled trout.
Well, that's certainly good to know. We can have some action even when it's cold
Yes,
out there.
sir.
All right, now time to check in on a little news going on in the outdoors. They held the 12th annual World Championship Red Drum Tournament last weekend in the Outer Banks. They had 114 people enter the tournament from all over the East Coast and caught and released 54 drum. The men's winner, Mike Pope of Gastonia, North Carolina, with a 45.5-inch long red drum. The women's winner, Teresa Deaton of Maiden, North Carolina, her winner was 42.5 inches long. Joe Moore put the tournament on again this year, operating out of Franken-Franz in Avon. Joe's been doing the tourney for 8 years now and really likes the way it's going.
We have officially a cap of 200 people. If we hit between 100 and 125, 150, it's a good controllable. But what we're after is, giving them first top judging, service, quality. So we try to keep it to a quality tournament.
Eric, I know Joe's been one of your buddies for a while. Great tournament he's got going.
He has. He's been running it for several years. It's an all-release tournament. Everything that's caught is measured and released. No dead fish on the beach, and that's the way to do it.
All right. More news for you fishermen who like to cook it up and catch it and eat it for dinner. Yes, that's what I was going to say. Keep doing it. Eating those fish, your heart will appreciate it. A report out this week says eating one serving of fish per week can reduce your risk of heart attack by 50%. It's the fatty acids in the fish that help. Salmon, the best source of the fatty acid. Kingfish, mackerel, tuna also contain lots of the acid. And I think we can say it might reduce your risk of heart attack, but you don't want to be frying it up all the time and throwing a lot of tartar sauce and stuff.
Can't put it in the old deep fryer with a mess of hush puppies? Where's the fun in that?
That will increase your chance of heart attack by 150%. Heart attack on a plate, as a matter of fact.
Hey,
You got it. All right, folks, stick around. We've got more Virginia Outdoor Life on the way. When we come back, we'll tell you what every hunter should know when we take a hunter's education class. Coming up after this. Hello and welcome back to Virginia Outdoor Life. Fishing and hunting sure can be a lot of fun, so sometimes it's easy to forget that there are a lot of safety rules to abide by. These rules aren't set up to make it less fun. They're there to, of course, ensure safety and preserve our resources. And the best way to get familiar with these rules of the road are to do what I did last weekend, take a hunter's education class.
Okay, Jim, what we recommend is 2 fingers over the trigger guard and in this position.
Paul Hockenberry has taught the hunter education course to more than 10,000 Virginians. He and his fellow volunteers take the class through 10 hours of safety, survival, and ethics, both the do's and don'ts, graphically illustrated in this dramatization.
What's going on here? This is my house. It's my property. This is posted. That's not your deer. Hold it a second. Come on, let's go. Keep that. We're going. Wait, we got it. We're going. This is an identification. Wait a minute. You're gonna push me around. Let's just go. We got this. Let's go.
Bill, please go in the house and call the game warden.
Come on, let's just get out of here.
A very bad situation. And frankly, a scene like that makes me angry to think I have to share my sport with people like that.
Students must also decide whether to shoot or don't shoot in this video. If you said shoot, shame on you. Look what you would have shot at. Another hunter. And this is not an unrealistic situation. Always identify your target and drag your deer out of the woods.
All right, I want you all to tell me what's the most important thing in using this.
The course is designed for all hunters. Even the youngsters are tested.
At all times. And this also applies to air guns. They had a kid killed last year by an air pistol. So it doesn't have to be one of these things. It can be an air gun.
And when it comes to blaze orange, there's no debate with these men. You can't wear enough of it. And no, they say the deer can't see it.
I sat perfectly motionless. I had all the blaze orange I could carry. And they never paid a bit of attention to me until I moved. And they were there for a half hour.
You really believe that they can't see the blaze orange?
No doubt in my mind.
And Captain, I can't tell you how impressed I was by these men, their commitment. They don't get paid for this. They go out and do it. And I'll tell you, any of the accidents you hear about, you don't hear about people being involved in these accidents that have taken these courses.
No, it's a really positive thing, and I can't overemphasize enough what that gentleman said about the blaze orange. Wear as much of it as you can get on your body. The deer can't see it. Okay, they really can't. I've seen all the data, I've read all the information on it. The deer cannot see blaze orange. What they can see is movement. Exactly what he said is absolutely true, and that's what you should be doing.
Yes, and the state also provides for boating safety classes as well. Just call the State Game Commission to find out about that stuff. These are super programs. All right, folks, we got to take a little bit of a break right now. Or no, as a matter of fact, we're not going to take a break. No. It's time for the Outdoor Scrapbook, as a matter of fact. That's the part of the show where you folks get to show off a little bit, send us your outdoor pictures, and we put them on. Take a look at these. First up,
Matt Jennings showing off 3 nice bass caught at a farm pond in Chesapeake. We turn the page and find Richard Fowler and his 2 striped bass. He caught these near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel on the opening day of the season.
And these fishing kids are Randy, Gina, and Lonnie Tate, and they're showing off gray trout and flounder caught in the Lynn Haven Inlet. This ophidiorous picture is of Chuck Gwynn in the skunk he bagged. He did so because the skunk was attacking ducks on his property.
Next is Billy D. Green. Billy's been hunting with the Triangle Hunt Club for 31 years, and he was particularly proud of this buck that he bagged last season. And finally, here we have Steve Ward and Andy Clements showing off pheasant, chucker, and quail that they bagged in Remington, Virginia at the Shady Grove Game Preserve.
welcome back to Virginia Outdoor Life. My name is Jim Hale, along with the captain,
Eric Burnley.
Yes, indeed. And you just saw a picture of Bucky there. Well, I'll tell you what, you might see some of Bucky's relatives in this next story. It's about a place in Virginia Beach where you can see a little bit of everything. We all know about this place, but we're going to take you a little more in depth now. Producer Mike Diller and Chief Ranger John Elliott take you hiking in Seashore State Park.
The Bald Cypress Nature Trail is the most heavily traveled trail. It's 1.5 miles. The purpose of the trail, or of any trail, is to provide some type of message to people, as well as provide entertainment and recreation and relaxation. And what we've done is we've expanded on what the Civilian Conservation Corps did here in 1936, and we've made this nice gradual trail, which makes it a little bit easier for people to get around. We try to let people know what's happening in the woods so that when they go out there, they're not afraid of the woods. Now, obviously, there are some things you need to be respectful of, snakes, things like that. Don't pet the cute raccoons. Now, this is the largest northernmost stand of natural bald cypress trees. And the gray stuff that's hanging off of them, which actually is kind of turning green now, if you'll notice, like on these, it's all green. Yep. This is Spanish moss. It's just a moss that grows on the tree. It doesn't take anything away from the tree, and it'll turn green in the rains like this. And it only survives in areas of very high humidity and moderate temperatures. We're going to go over to the bay side of the park and take a look at some of the campsites and show you the beach and just take a drive around through the campground so you can see what's like over there. And using a crosswalk to go up over the beach. We did it for a selfish reason. We did it because we don't want people to damage the environment. It allows the vegetation to grow and it keeps our erosion down. Somewhere in this area is the first landing, which is how we came up with the new name for Seashore. For a couple years it's going to be called First Landing Seashore, just so that those that have been here since whenever can get used to the name change. These are one of the 20 cabins that we have available, and these 6 up on the hill are the original CCC cabins. 2-bedroom cabins, kitchen, living room with a fireplace, and if it's cool enough, you can always sit out on the screened-in porch. Now this is what they call the Narrows. This is actually the narrowest point of the channels between Broad Bay and Linkhorn Bay. And this is a moderate beach area. And you can see the biggest users today are the fishermen, and in the evening the crabbers. And there's been lots of stories float around that blackbeard buried treasure here. And there may very well be that possibility. I think the park has been pretty well covered as far as treasure seekers. The Confederacy used to use this area as a hiding area, as well as the Northern spies. It's a beautiful park, and the people like it. And as long as the people like it, we're going to keep doing what we need to do with it.
Oh yeah, what a great place. It's easy to get to too. It runs right along Shore Drive from the Great Neck area of Virginia Beach to the north end of Virginia Beach. And you know, this is a place where you probably most of us have driven by at one time or another, but to really appreciate it, it's just a great place to escape to. You got to get back there and sample it.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful place. My son rides his bicycle back there a lot. They have bicycle trails. I fish there. It's just a really neat place. It really is. And we're, once again, very, very fortunate to live in this area and have such beautiful places at our availability.
There are not many places in this country where you have a big urban area. You can go get lost in some place like Seashore and Back Bay and Falls Cape and all that. Yeah, we got it right here, folks. No excuse not to get in on the fun. Busy coming. Welcome back, friends, to Virginia Outdoor Life. Earlier in the show, we talked about the speckled trout season. Well, guess what? It's here, and the captain here's got a couple of lures that we're going to give away in just a minute. But what you got here, Captain?
Okay, this first one is, as we showed you earlier, this is the Mr. Wiffle, invented by Dick Smaling and currently marketed by Tidewater Lures right here in Norfolk. And then the second one is the Finesse, currently marketed by Lunker City Lures. And they come in different sizes and a zillion different colors. And we're going to give away 2 packs of each in 4 different colors. So
all right.
Keep people going for a while.
Well, as you can
and
see,
we'll mix them up.
As you can see, they work too.
Yes,
indeed.
Yeah. And we'll pull out.
Okay, we got
there.
one. All right. And a nice pretty picture of a fawn here. And they sent us a nice, you can send us a nice little note too and tell you how much you love us and all
what
that
great
stuff.
people we are.
Yes,
we don't have
that stuff. We don't have egos or anything.
No.
You know, not at all. Captain does have a little bit of an ego, but not me. They say super show, keep it up.
That's it.
And the winner is from Yorktown, Virginia, Jimbo Thompson. All right. As you know, the weather has cooled off. Tell us about the fishing coming up this week.
Well, I think we're going to see better speckled trout fishing. I think we're going to see better striped bass fishing. We're going to see it everywhere, really. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, where these shots were made, we're going to see it at the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, Monitor Merrimack, James River Bridge. We're going to see good striped bass fishing everywhere. It's going to definitely start getting better, and there's going to be plenty of bluefish too, at least after this cold front. Maybe the next one will run them on out. And speckled trout, like I say, we're going to see them. Down south, out of Hatteras, you're going to see, this is Hatteras Marina, you're going to see a lot of king mackerel. The king mackerel run is on, and it's in full force. And these fish were caught right off of Diamond Shoals out of Hatteras Inlet last week. And so that will be coming on strong. But if you're not familiar with that area, you certainly should look into chartering a boat out of Hatteras Inlet before you run down there with your boat, because it can be just a little bit tricky getting in and out of there, especially on a south blow.
Those king mackerel looking pretty good.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, we hope to get down there week after next and do a segment and have some stuff to bring back for the folks, show them how to do that.
Okay, folks, that's going to do it. We'll see you in the great outdoors.
Looking forward to it. Y'all take them east till next week.
Okay.